World War III on the brink in the Pacific, nukes and warships ready for devastating war. China and the US are plunging towards total conflict as a Pacific flashpoint risks flaring into World War III. Washington and Beijing have both been flexing their military muscles as Chinese military bosses declared war between the US and China is now reality. Warships, missiles, and nuclear-capable bombers are flooding the region as both superpowers prepare for a potentially nuclear conflict. The cradle of this war zone is the South China Sea, which Beijing claims belongs to the Chinese by right, while the US weighs in support of the Asian power's Pacific neighbors. Experts have warned just one wrong move could cause the region to explode into war between the US and China. Daily Star Online can now reveal just how close the world is to war igniting between the US and China. The start of World War III. We're going to war in the South China Sea in 5 to 10 years. David L. Goldwyn, a former special envoy for the US State Department, warned of conflict with China in a report to the Atlantic Council seen by Daily Star Online. He said, "China is prone to testing new US presidents, and Mr. Trump seems intent on testing, if not provoking, China. A miscalculation on either side creates a non-negligible risk of military conflict." US and China have been at loggerheads since the middle of 2016, when the United Nations ruled against the Chinese attempts to claim islands in the South China Sea. Defiant Beijing have been continuing to expand into the disputed waters as they claim islands and sandbars to build giant defensive bases packed with missiles and designed to launch warplanes. The communist giant claims the seas flanked by nations such as the Philippines, Vietnam, Malaysia due to its strategic importance, offering access from the Indian Ocean to the Pacific. Half of the world's merchant ships pass through the disputed waters, and China is staking its claim as part of the brewing trade war with the US. It is also believed the sea is rich in oil and natural gas, according to studies by the Department of the Environment and Natural Resources. China understands the power which can be seized by claiming the sea and packing the region with weapons, including nuclear submarines base in Hainan. The superpower has also deployed its aircraft carrier and announced their second will be stationed in the swirling conflict cauldron. Meanwhile, the US is expanding its reach as it places nuclear-capable bombers in their bases in Guam, fighter jets and Marines in Japan, and missile systems in South Korea. Experts have claimed the US has as many as 400 military bases surrounding China in a pincer movement designed to provoke Beijing. War tensions have reached a new head as some of new U.S. President Donald Trump's top aides have talked up war with China. Steve Bannon, White House chief strategist, said, "We're going to war in the South China Sea in 5 to 10 years. There's no doubt about that. They're taking their sandbars and making basically stationary aircraft carriers and putting missiles on those. They come here to the US in front of our face, and you understand how important face is, and say it's an ancient territorial sea." Meanwhile, a message released by the People's Liberation Army of China said, "Statement like a war within the president's term or war breaking out tonight are not just slogans, they are becoming a practical reality.